My name is Ashley, a 66-year-old full-time housewife who's getting on in years. I used to work, but at this age, I'm ready to enjoy my retirement. My husband Jason, now 67, retired at 65. Following his lead, I also retired last year when I turned 65. My relationship with Jason is just SOSO. We've been together for 41 years since we got hitched at 25. The lovey-dovey phase is long gone, and we're like two passing ships in the night. Well, not meddling in each other's business keeps the peace and lets us take it easy. Still, I wish we could have a conversation now and then, but Jason's attitude is colder than a winter's day. When I talk about my shopping trips or everyday things, he snaps, "Shut up." He'll be sitting there with a grumpy face, watching TV or reading the newspaper, and then suddenly say, "I'm heading out," and leave on his own. I try to invite him, saying, "Let's go shopping together sometime," but he's never once taken me up on it. Since retiring, he's got time on his hands, but he's always rushing out like he's got somewhere to be. We still haven't gone on a trip together as a couple. It's getting pretty darn lonely, no matter how you slice it. Is it too much to ask to spend our golden years like this? So, I'll get some travel brochures ready and try to entice him, saying, "Hey, how about this place?" Even when I say I'll handle all the arrangements and expenses, he still gives me the cold shoulder and says, "I ain't going." I might as well get a divorce and end this marriage for some peace of mind, but I can't bring myself to do it. Even though the love is gone, I can't erase the feelings from all the years we've spent together. I gave birth to my daughter Olivia at the age of 27, and now at 39, she suggests, "Why don't you just split up?" But it's not that simple with marriage. If there were a significant reason, perhaps I might consider it, but aside from his surliness, I have no particular complaints about my husband. He does what he likes, and doesn't complain about what I do. I spend days wondering if it's okay to divorce just because we spend little time together and barely speak. Maybe getting a part-time job would distract me? But my decreasing energy doesn't allow it. It's a dilemma only those involved can truly understand. Today, as usual, when I tried talking to my husband about someone from next door, he curtly replied, "I'm not interested," and I fell silent. So, I reluctantly went through the travel brochure I'd picked up again. There was a feature article titled "Recommended for a Carefree Solo Trip." Nowadays, there are many options catered to solo travelers. It dawned on me. I had been so intent on going with my husband, but there are other possibilities. I'll just hope he wants to go eventually, but maybe I should enjoy my retirement on my own. It would be nice to travel with my daughter and her family, but my grandchildren have no interest in traveling with their grandmother. They are busy with school, lessons, and hanging out with friends, enjoying their youth. They probably don't want to spend their precious holidays on a family trip. Considering letting my daughter travel without making her kids stay home alone isn't feasible, so perhaps a solo trip might be a good idea. If that's decided, I better hurry and figure out where to go while looking at the brochure. As I become excited about planning a trip alone, the loneliness of not being paid attention to by my husband fades away. However, interestingly, as soon as I start enjoying planning the trip, my husband begins to show interest. "What are you doing?" he asks. "Planning a trip," I reply, and he peeks at the brochure in my hands. "Oh, this hotel looks nice. Right? It's a luxury to enjoy by myself," I say, beaming. "Surprisingly," he says, "that sounds nice. Maybe I'll go too." "What? You're coming with me?" "That's what I'm saying," he responds. I couldn't believe his reaction and hurriedly replied with a smile, "Yes, let's go." Wow. I'm excited. Just then, the doorbell rings. Standing there is a familiar face, Natalie. "Hey, Natalie, welcome." Natalie has been a close friend of my daughter since college. She first stayed at our house at 18 and has been close to our family ever since. Now 39, married, and a successful mother, she originally came from another state but moved nearby after getting married. Conversely, Olivia has married into another state and doesn't come home often. Instead, Natalie visits us more frequently. She often came over during college as she took many of the same classes as my daughter, and they would stay up late working on assignments. We often ate dinner together, almost like having another daughter. Hello. I brought some souvenirs from my recent outing. Oh, thank you. I invite her in, and my husband comes out to greet her. Hi, welcome. Hello, Jason. Despite being a generally unapproachable person, he is surprisingly charming around Natalie. He has always behaved this way, perhaps he thinks of her like a daughter. Natalie is more amiable towards my husband than even her own daughter Olivia, maybe because she feels obligated as an outsider. Come to think of it, Olivia once complained, "It bothers me that Natalie gets along better with Dad than I do." Jealous? I laughed, but she pouted, "It's different. Girls do love their fathers," I thought, chuckling to myself, which earned me a curious look from Natalie. Oh dear, I must seem like a lunatic at 66. I don't want to be thought of as senile, so I better go make some tea, I decided and disappeared into the kitchen. Natalie, familiar with the house, silently took her place on the living room sofa. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her settle in as I started preparing the tea. After a while, I headed to the living room with some tea and snacks, greeted by a cheerful atmosphere. Really, laughed Natalie, and my husband responded with a laugh, really. And this one's a masterpiece. It's not Olivia, but as a wife, I feel unsettled. He never seems to enjoy conversations with me as much as he does with Natalie. It seems my husband has the most fun when he's with Natalie, more so than with me or Olivia. This isn't a recent development. It started long ago when Natalie first visited our house at the age of 18. At first, they hardly spoke, but within a year, they had become very close. Since then, my husband and Natalie have been very friendly, and his smiles are mostly seen when he's with her. Feeling jealous over my daughter's friend feels ridiculous, but I can't help feeling uneasy. Their world together seems so complete that it's hard for me to enter the living room. I hesitated at the door, and their conversation gradually became quieter. It seemed like they were deliberately lowering their voices. A secret conversation? Without realizing it, I found myself eavesdropping at the door. I could hear their voices, albeit quietly. Wow, a hotel, huh? That sounds nice. I'd love to go. Then shall we go together? Natalie probably said this in a light-hearted manner, to which my husband surprisingly responded. I was shocked, but it seemed I was the only one. Natalie, unfazed, said, "Great, we can go together." What are you saying? But again, I seemed to be the only one surprised. My husband casually replied, "It would be embarrassing to show this old body." What are you talking about? Unbeknownst to them, I stood on the other side of the door, my mouth agape. Their conversation continued to flow. If you say that, what about me? I'm completely out of shape after having kids. Nonsense. Natalie, you're as beautiful as ever. Remember that hotel we went to? Stop it! You're making me blush. Yes, well, my jaw dropped. I was like a fish out of water, but now I'm facing a torrent of emotions. Should I let myself be swept away by this current, or swim against it and confront them in that room? Surely, I've realized by now that my husband and Natalie have a romantic relationship. It's painfully obvious, and it seems it's been going on for a long time. Damn it. What am I supposed to do with you, you awful husband? Right now, I feel like a fierce mountain witch. I want to scratch at the door in frustration, but I stop myself just in time. No, wait, I need to stay calm. If I burst into the room now and confront them about the affair, they might just deny everything. I need to gather solid evidence first, then act on it. For now, I calm myself by drinking all the tea I've prepared. My stomach is bloated. Unaware of my presence, the unfaithful couple continues their flowery conversation. Have you forgotten I'm here? That evening, after confirming my husband was watching comedy in the living room, I called my daughter from the bedroom. It's scary watching him laugh without expression. It's hard to imagine Dad laughing. But he was laughing a lot when he was alone with Natalie, right? Was he really laughing? You only heard his voice, right? Maybe his face was expressionless, and only his voice was laughing. Imagining that makes it even scarier. We both laughed at that. No, this is no laughing matter. Still, to think he and Natalie could have such a relationship. It's unbelievable. Shocking, right? Both Dad and Natalie are married with kids. What are they thinking? It seems like it started back when they were in college, so it's been going on since before they were married. That's the worst. From my daughter's perspective, her friend being romantically involved with her father is nothing short of disgusting. She said this before asking me, "What are you going to do?" Honestly, I want a divorce. I know. But there's still the affection from our years as a couple. It's a dilemma. I need to think about it a bit. Olivia would probably like to suggest divorce, but understanding my feelings, she didn't push it. She's a considerate daughter. My husband and Natalie have trampled not only on my feelings, but also on the gentle Olivia's. As a father, as a friend. This is something I can't forgive, but the time we've been together doesn't make it easy to think about divorce. Marriage isn't just about putting up with each other's faults. Indeed, things had been cold between us recently, but until Natalie appeared, I think we were quite happy. What should I do? As I'm lost in thought, unable to find an answer, the situation develops without giving me time to think. What, you want to cancel the trip? Yeah. It just doesn't seem fun going with you. That's not fair. The next day, my usually silent husband spoke to me during breakfast, dropping the terrible news that he wanted to cancel our trip. While I was sad, part of me wasn't surprised. I had a bad feeling when I heard Natalie say yesterday that she wanted to go. Testing him, I said, "So, I guess we don't need this brochure anymore," and tried to throw away the brochure, but he quickly snatched it from me. Why? If we're not going, it's just trash, right? Maybe I'll go someday. Well then, I'll go alone for now, give it back. No, I might want to go. You can't go before I do. What? I might feel like going too, you know? I won't allow you to go before me. What? I couldn't believe it, but deep down, I knew it. He intends to go with Natalie. There's a 1 in a million chance I might coincide with their plans, so he's telling me not to go. He wants to go with Natalie. How selfish can he be? Am I supposed to stay married to this kind of person? I was wavering about rebuilding our relationship, but now that feeling is gone. Sure enough, I found my husband booking a hotel on our home computer. Reserving it on the computer we both use. Is he an idiot? Too carried away. It's time to move towards divorce. Just when I thought about gathering evidence, the situation sped up. One day, while I was considering who to hire for gathering evidence, I returned from shopping to find a women's jacket at the entrance. Recognizing them, I headed to the living room and, as I suspected, Natalie was there. "Hello, Natalie." She just nodded. "Say something." "I have something to discuss with you." Natalie remained silent, and my husband began to speak. "Don't say it." "What?" "Never mind." I had no right to be called you by him, and I didn't have time to listen to his story, but I held back my urge to snap and said, "I'll make some tea," taking a moment to step away. I made their tea as bitter as possible. "So, what's this about?" As I placed the toxic-looking tea on the table, I sat directly across from the two of them on the sofa. Once I sat down, my husband and Natalie looked at each other and nodded. Then they held hands, their actions saying as much as their words that they were close. The bad feeling I had turned into a grimace. Facing me, my husband said, "I want a divorce." Damn it. He beat me to it. What? Never mind. There's a certain advantage to being the first to bring up a breakup. You don't like me, so you want a divorce? That's what I wanted to say first. I hate you so much. I'm throwing you out. Being preempted like that is somewhat humiliating. What's going on? You've been so restless lately. I was furious. In my irritation, my husband finally said the words, "I want to divorce you and remarry with Natalie." Okay, wait, what? Just as I was getting annoyed, I almost missed what he said. He didn't just say something crazy, did he? Remarry? Yes. With whom? With her, obviously. He said, lifting Natalie's hand he was holding. So, you're admitting to having an affair? Yes. Great, I got him to admit it. I never thought he'd confess to cheating before I even gathered any evidence. That saves me the trouble of hiring a detective. Actually, when he said he had something to talk about, I had already turned on the voice recorder app on my phone. I got that whole statement recorded. No denying it now, right? But the more evidence, the better. Let's get them to talk some more. How long has this been going on? Are you really asking that? Believe it or not, since our college days. I wanted to yell, "I'm not asking you." I deserve praise for not snapping. And what's with that drawn-out way of speaking? Is Natalie always like this, or does she change her persona just around my husband? Maybe I should respond in kind with, "This is so irritating." So, you've been together since college, before Natalie was married? That's right. You married your husband while having an affair? Don't you love him? Well, I suppose I have some affection for him. But I love him more. Can I punch someone now? Can someone give me permission, please? Not that I'd want to if you asked me to. But, you're not in a bad relationship, right? Marrying my husband means you'll divorce yours, right? That would be the case. How will you explain this to your husband? Oh, just normally, I'm marrying the person I love. Is she an idiot? She must be. Only someone not right in the head would engage in such deceit. So, you're prepared? What? I haven't been to the hospital or anything. My head hurts. Seriously, is this the same girl who graduated from the same university as my daughter? What has she learned in society? Probably nothing. So, I'm losing my husband to this woman. The shock is too much in every sense, it's giving me a headache. As I was holding my forehead, suddenly the front door opened. Huh? I looked up, and there was Olivia. Hey, I came over because you said there was something urgent. What's this situation? In the living room, my husband and Natalie were holding hands up in the air, and here I was, burnt out and clutching my forehead. What's this situation? She asked. It's a battlefield right now. After thinking it over, I said straight out, it's a full-blown battlefield. A battlefield, huh? So Dad finally spilled the beans. But why all of a sudden? My husband was a bit surprised to learn that our daughter knew about the affair. However, from my lack of surprise, he seemed to realize that it was somewhat obvious. He then sighed deeply. I thought about getting a divorce because... Yes, that's what I wanted to know. Why suddenly confess and seek a divorce after hiding it for 20 years? I was leaning forward, eager to hear the reason. Sitting next to me, our daughter, and then looking at Natalie, my husband said, "It's because Natalie is pregnant with my child." What? It's rare to be completely shocked in life, but at that moment, I truly was. Beside me, my daughter was equally shocked, while my husband and Natalie's eyes sparkled with excitement. We were careful, but it seems there was a failure. She's pregnant with my child. What? I couldn't help but scream. A full-bodied shout at the age of 66. Are you sane? I am always sane. Liar, you've been insane since you started an affair with a college student 20 years ago. Isn't the child with Natalie's husband as usual? That's impossible. After all, my husband and I haven't been intimate for a long time. It's only been with Jason. Oh, how embarrassing. Natalie, be quiet. Thank you, Olivia. My daughter silenced Natalie with a stern look and a firm voice. I would have said, "Shut up, you little brat," myself. That was a close one. The room went silent for a while, then my husband spoke again. Well, that's the situation. The pregnancy is confirmed, we went to the doctor together. You went together. You must have looked like a father and daughter. I'm not against age gap relationships, but this, stemming from infidelity, would be frowned upon even if I weren't the wife. Despite this, they went to the hospital together. Given his retirement and abundance of free time, my husband is quite something, or perhaps too lost in his fantasy world to realize they're not behaving normally. So, Ashley, I want to divorce you. Oh right, Natalie had just said she hadn't been to the hospital, but she had, hadn't she? For medical costs. She's too delusional. I'm fine with the divorce, I had intended it anyway, and I'm not about to cling to him after being so boldly told. But, there was one last question I needed to ask. Why did you cheat? That's what I really wanted to know. We might not have been madly in love, but we were getting along fine, weren't we? So why? As I spoke, I felt a sting at the back of my nose. Don't cry, me. Crying means losing, crying means I still have feelings. I don't have feelings, but it's still sad. Just as I thought we'd spend a lot more time together as husband and wife. I bit my lip to hold back tears, but then I heard my husband's voice. Young ones are obviously better. In an instant, any tears retracted. What? Younger women are better, I just get along better with them. Naturally, if there's such a young and pretty girl around, that kind of relationship happens. What are you saying? Because she's young? Because you get along better with younger women? Are you serious right now? Everyone ages, time doesn't stop, and everyone grows old equally, and yet, you say younger is better? You cheated for such a trivial reason? Natalie will age too, you know. And Olivia will be happy, right? Oblivious to my despair, he looked at my daughter with an unfamiliar goofy smile. What? Aren't you happy? You'll soon have a brother or sister. Didn't you say you wanted siblings? It's late, but it'll be your sibling. We don't know the gender yet, but it's exciting, right? As he laughed loudly, Natalie giggled along. My world went dark. What is this farce? Who is this person? Who is this person, laughing and speaking so nonchalantly about the unimaginable right in front of me? The husband I loved is nowhere to be found. The tears I thought had retreated fell in shock. Then, I heard a strained voice next to me. Perhaps my daughter was crying in shock too. I hurriedly looked over, but was met with an unexpected scene. What's wrong, Olivia? Why are you laughing? Indeed, Olivia wasn't crying. I can't take it anymore. Saying that, my daughter burst into laughter. Before us, still in shock, she continued to laugh until tears streamed down her face. Olivia. Don't you get it? Because Natalie, you know. Wiping away her tears, Olivia looked at Natalie and said, Natalie has always had a thing for older guys, dating various men over the years. What? My husband was surprised by our daughter's words, and I was too. Come on, Olivia. Don't say weird stuff. But it's true, right? Natalie, you always used to ask your friends to show them pictures of their dads. With so many professors around at university, didn't you often get scolded for making advances everywhere? What? My husband was shocked by this revelation about Natalie's past. Moreover, didn't one of the professors get involved with Natalie because of her seduction, and when it was discovered, he lost his job at the university? And Natalie, you were suspended, right? What? I thought you took a leave of absence due to family circumstances. No, Dad. That's entirely a lie by Natalie. She actually dropped out after getting suspended and having a big fight with her parents. I had heard that Natalie took a leave of absence from university due to family circumstances and then dropped out. So, that was a lie. I didn't tell the truth before because we were friends, but there's no need to stay silent now that it's come to this. I always thought it was strange how friendly she was with our dad, but I never imagined I'd be betrayed by my dad and my best friend. Indeed, I hadn't noticed it. But I could tell as a parent that my daughter's smiling face was actually one of anger. But, well, it might have been that way in the past when I was younger, But now that I'm an adult, those kinds of behaviors don't just go away, Dad. Plus, I knew all along that Natalie has been involved with various older men even now. I've told her to stop since she's married, but she never does. I even thought about ending our friendship. Now too! Hey, Natalie, are you involved with other men besides me? Natalie was flustered by my husband's questioning. I don't know what you're talking about. It's all Olivia's nonsense. Who are you going to believe, me or your daughter? That is. At that moment, failing to immediately say my daughter shows you're unfit as a parent. Olivia, understanding this too, looked even colder towards her father. Oh yes, look at this. Right after the affair with him was discovered, when she came here, I happened to see her at the department store and took this picture. Saying this, Olivia pulled out her phone, showing a photo of Natalie laughing joyfully at a jewelry counter, beside an elderly man I had never seen before, likely older than my husband. Natalie, who is this? My father? Since we had never met Natalie's parents, we couldn't tell if that was true. But immediately after, Olivia said, Natalie, are you going to a hotel with your father? And showed a photo of Natalie and that man entering a hotel. No. What are you doing following people around and taking pictures? It sounds worse than it is. I'm not that idle. I'm busy with work and raising kids. It was just a coincidence. A coincidence in the hotel district? There's a cafe I frequent near that hotel. Lies. I don't want to be lectured by you who've been lying all along. Natalie, red-faced and shouting, Olivia, calm with a slight smirk. My husband's face turned pale as he watched. Trembling, he asked. Natalie? What? Is the child really mine? Huh? Of course it is. But, thinking about it, the last time we were together was 5 months ago, and that timing with the pregnancy doesn't make sense. You're a man, you don't understand pregnancy weeks. No, that's definitely wrong. Pregnancy typically shows within about 3 months. The timeline of 5 months ago doesn't add up. Trying to bluff because my husband doesn't understand, that's what she's doing. Natalie, tell me the truth. How many men are you involved with? Shut up. I haven't kept count. What? Huh. She slipped in her own words. Not keeping count means, just how many are there? Laughing again, Olivia chimed in. My husband was stunned, Natalie was sullen. I was speechless. The room fell silent except for Olivia's laughter. Well, anyway. I snapped back to reality and decided to make one thing clear to my husband. We're getting a divorce. What? My husband was taken aback by my statement. Why was he so surprised? We're getting a divorce, you should be happy, right? Well, actually. No backing out now. Regardless of the custody of the children, your infidelity is clear. I'll be taking the division of property and we will divorce. Well, hold on. I actually need you. How dare you say that? My husband seemed to understand Natalie's betrayal and was thinking of rebuilding our relationship. Doesn't he know life isn't that sweet? What? Are you planning to dump me? I don't even know if it's my child. Plus, I can't stand staying married to someone like you who loves flirting with other men. Don't mess with me. Then what about the child I'm carrying? Just raise it with your current husband. That's impossible. I told you we haven't been together in ages. It'll come out. That's not my problem. What an ugly fight has started. This is a real mess. Olivia said calmly. Then she announced, Dad. I'm cutting ties with you. What? My children will never see you again. That's too much. A man who betrays his wife and kids doesn't deserve to meet them. It's bad for their upbringing. No. My husband was usually cool with his family, but he was very sweet to his grandchildren. Not seeing them might be the harshest punishment, worse than divorce, serves him right. What about me then? I still want to see my grandchildren. After that, the chaos continued for a while. It seemed like it might take a while, so I thought I might go make some more tea. Soon after, my husband and I got divorced. Olivia's husband recommended a good lawyer, which made the negotiations go very smoothly. Recording everything sure was a good idea. My husband was undoubtedly at fault, and I ended up getting the house as part of the alimony. He moved to a shabby house with just a small amount of money and his pension, where he'd probably spend a lonely old age. Natalie's husband found out about the affair. It led to her being kicked out of their house after multiple affairs and a pregnancy came to light. Her husband takes care of their children after tests confirmed they were indeed his. Having gone back to her parents' house, which she did reluctantly since they had a strained relationship worsened by her college expulsion and now this scandal, they demanded she repay the money they lent her. She's apparently struggling with constant nagging from her parents, according to Olivia, who sighs as she complains. Because Dad keeps calling, I had to block his number, he really can't take a hint. Hearing my daughter's words, I could only give a wry smile. The betrayal by a father she once adored seemed to have hit her hard. Love turned to hate in an instant. As for me, I sold the house filled with memories of my husband and bought a condo suitable for living alone. I'm now enjoying a relaxed retirement, indulging in solo trips I'd always wanted to take, attending new classes and hobbies, and sometimes traveling with my daughter's family. Look at that. Being alone isn't so bad after all, I said with a laugh, embracing my fulfilling days. Ariana, who once stole my fiancé, Jake, only to dump him and then vanished without paying the compensation she owed my parents for the trouble she caused. Now, she stands before us, making snide remarks. Your husband is quite older, isn't he? What does he do for a living? My husband is a doctor. Compared to him, your husband looks poor. He's quite muscular. Does he, by any chance, work on a construction site? Just as I was about to retort, my husband, Michael, stopped me. I do physical work, yes. Speaking of doctors, working here means he's employed at the Blue Island General Hospital? Yes. He's a surgeon. Really? He's one of my subordinates, though? You mean William from the Blue Island General Hospital, right? I believe his specialty is plastic surgery. Huh? Yes? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm the chief of surgery at the General Hospital, my name's Michael. Shocked by the encounter with Ariana, I burst into tears as soon as we got into the car to go home. Michael then asked me, "You've been thinking about something, haven't you? Tell me, how do you want to deal with her from now on?" Deal with her? That's impossible, obviously. Just thinking about it makes me feel suffocated. There was a time when just thinking about Ariana would make me hyperventilate. Yeah, I understand that you really don't want to be near that woman. That's why I have a plan. A plan? Yes, a way to ensure that a woman never appears before you again. My name is Maria. I'm a 32-year-old housewife. Currently, I live a peaceful and enjoyable life with my husband, Michael, who is 12 years older than me, and our 3-year-old son. Michael is extremely busy with his work, which he takes great pride in. I find fulfillment in supporting him at home. It might be rare these days to dedicate oneself to protecting the home for a husband who works outside. That's what some might say. Even my parents have mentioned it. Now, I have a truly happy family. But getting here wasn't without its hardships. That's because I was betrayed by someone I thought was my best friend. Ariana, who I met in college within the same department, was a friend. No, I thought of her as my best friend for 4 years, doing everything together. Coming to a college in the city, I was a bit intimidated, but Ariana reached out to me. She was bright, flashy, and above all, active, which surprised me in many ways, but I followed her nonetheless. For me, who had been modest and serious until high school, she was someone who opened up a new world. And our relationship continued even after we graduated. At that time, we both found jobs in companies in the city. Whenever we had time, we often went out to eat. Eventually, I met someone too. Jake, a salesperson from a manufacturer that did business with the trading company where I worked. As an office worker, I started getting asked out by him, and eventually, we started dating. Honestly, having hardly dated men before, I was over the moon. Everything went smoothly, and after a year of dating, we got engaged when I was 26. I probably got carried away at that time. You haven't been hanging out much lately, have you? Ariana would sometimes say. Well, that's true. I don't have multiple bodies. Naturally, I started spending more of my weekends with Jake. Are you keeping secrets from me? Not really hiding anything. Ariana, for her part, had never introduced me to anyone she was dating. So, I thought friendships and romantic relationships were different. Since we were planning our wedding, it was natural that my time was increasingly taken up by him. I didn't tell Ariana about it, not because I wanted to surprise her. But I won't deny there was also a feeling of embarrassment. Introducing him to Ariana, who could easily chat up and hang out with any guy, felt daunting. Back then, I was afraid of how Jake would appear in Ariana's eyes. Yet, as the wedding approached, I thought it was finally okay to tell her. Hey, there's someone I want you to meet, I said as I introduced Jake to Ariana. Oh my! Maria, keeping secrets from your best friend? That's so like you! Ariana patted my back with a beaming smile. But that turned out to be a mistake. When the wedding reservation and preparations were nearly finalized, Jake suddenly came to my parents' house and said, I'm sorry. I can't marry you. When I asked why, he said, Ariana is pregnant. I couldn't comprehend what he was saying at first. After that, it was a mess. Was Ariana really pregnant? At that point, it didn't matter anymore. He called off the engagement when the wedding was just around the corner. I'm so sorry. In my stunned silence, my dad, half furious, berated and even hit him while he was apologizing. It could have gotten worse if my mom hadn't stopped him. The wedding was cancelled. While I was incapable of doing anything, my outraged parents demanded he pay the full cancellation fee and compensation for what he did to their only daughter. They also demanded compensation from Ariana. He admitted his fault and seemed to pay what he owed, apologizing sincerely. I say seemed because my memory of that time isn't very clear. I was in shock, likely in denial about reality. So, I found out later that Ariana had skipped town without apologizing or paying any compensation. It turns out she wasn't actually pregnant, according to a letter she left behind. The lie and her fleeing devastated me again. What was she thinking? Ariana's parents were furious as well. When this rumor spread among our college friends, I heard another shocking thing. I didn't say anything because you didn't notice, but Ariana used to go after every guy you liked, one after another. This was news to me. Why would she do that? I don't know. Even though Ariana was popular on her own, every time someone showed interest in you, she ended up making them date her instead. Maybe she was jealous when guys approached you instead of her? But we were best friends. Were you, though? I was shocked. Back then, it seemed more like you were following Ariana around, and everyone thought she saw you that way too. That hit me hard. Not just realizing Ariana's true thoughts, but also that I had been completely oblivious to it, and my lack of judgment when it came to men. Adding to the shock, the stares at work labeled me as the woman who got jilted right before her wedding, and I finally broke down. I quit my job and spent some time recuperating at my parents' house. Then, settled down, I got a new job at 28 and started matchmaking on my parents' advice, not trusting my own judgment anymore. I felt more secure with being introduced by worried relatives. Among them, I met Michael, a man 12 years my senior. He was too busy with work to even think about women, and by the time he realized, he was already this age. At 40, his surroundings got worried and arranged a matchmaking for him. I decided to marry him because he was upfront about possibly neglecting family due to his work, which I saw as honesty. Considering my past failure, we only informed close family and friends about our wedding. The following year, I got pregnant and planned to take a break from work, but then Michael got headhunted by another company in a different city. I felt bad for leaving my relatively new job, but everyone was kind and saw me off. And so, our new life as three began in a new place. What? Could it be Maria? One day, by sheer coincidence, Ariana appeared right in front of me. That day, the three of us had gone to the shopping mall. Our target for the day was the home improvement tools. Since moving here, we've been gradually working on our new home's interior ourselves. DIY has always been a hobby of mine. Michael's new job is a higher position than before, and it comes with less irregular hours. So, now he sometimes helps me with shopping for heavy items. Well, right now, he's carrying our son, Sean, on his shoulders, but what are the odds in this mall? Ariana? Long time no see. Wow, you got married. Yeah, but Ariana, you're in this town? Yep. Moved here for my husband's job. Wow, so this is your current husband? Ariana looked at us over. Then to Michael, she snidely said, quite older, isn't he? Michael casually responded, yeah, got a bit too caught up in work. Maria's friend, right? Yes, Ariana. And you're all about work, huh? What do you do? Ariana, isn't that a bit abrupt? Oh, Maria, are you still mad about it? It's not that. My husband's a doctor. Compared to him, your husband looks poor. He's got quite the muscles, though. Does he, by any chance, work in construction? Judging by appearances alone. That way of speaking. But before I could argue back, Michael stopped me. I do. Speaking of doctors, does he work at Blue Island General Hospital? Yes. He's a surgeon. Really? He's one of my subordinates, though? Huh? You mean William from Blue Island General Hospital, right? Yeah. Oh, right. Sorry for the late introduction. I'm the chief of surgery at the hospital, Michael. Michael, as in the one who was eagerly headhunted last year? What a coincidence. Michael smiled gently. Yes. Suddenly, Ariana's attitude changed. Thinking back, this had happened before. I just hadn't noticed. Oh, my apologies. I didn't realize it because of your casual attire. No worries, casual clothes are just that. I clenched the hem of Michael's work clothes he was wearing at the time. What's wrong, Maria? Let's head back. Are you sure? She's an old friend, right? Yeah. There's so much I want to talk about. Let's go. Okay then. Sorry, maybe some other time. Sure, love to. Ariana's cheerful voice irked me. What's wrong? You look pale, and your pulse is racing. While saying this, we went back to the car, and as Michael put Sean in his child seat, he checked my temperature and pulse. No more, I never want to see Ariana again. I don't want to. He gently patted my trembling shoulder. If you don't want to see her, that's fine, but can you tell me why later? I just nodded silently. That night, after putting Sean to bed, I told Michael everything that had happened. I see, so that's it. I knew you had been cheated on by your fiancé right before the wedding, but I didn't know she was the woman. You knew? I figured something sad had happened. I nodded silently, several times. Yes. It's not just that. It's always been. Tears of frustration won't stop falling from my eyes. It's always like this. I realize something after it happens. I've always hated Ariana. If that's the case, she's really toxic. And it seems like she has an unhealthy obsession with you. With me? Yeah. Isn't it obvious? Luring away anyone who gets close to you only to discard them. What does she think of these men to her, huh? That's true, but even with your former fiancé, it turns out he's not married now, if he was supposed to be with William. That's indeed the case. And about William, or rather. Michael suddenly looked thoughtful. What's wrong? Ariana's husband is. I was just thinking. Tell me, Maria, how do you want to deal with her going forward?
Deal with her? That's impossible, obviously.
Just thinking about it makes me feel suffocated. There was a time when just thinking about Ariana would make me hyperventilate. It's okay, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I understand you really don't want to be near that woman. That's why I have a plan. A plan? Yes, a way to ensure that a woman never appears before you again. And then, Michael smiled gently again. Ah, that's right, this man, though he seems calm, takes action when it's necessary. 2 weeks later. In the evening while preparing dinner and waiting for Michael to come home, Mom, Grandpa and Grandma. Suddenly, Sean pointed out the window. Right after that, the doorbell rang. Indeed. It was my parents. I hurried to welcome them in. Their home is several states away. It takes hours by car. What's going on? Yeah, Michael called us. He said it was urgent, so we're here to watch the house.
House sitting?
Haven't you heard? I quickly sent a message to Michael. Immediately, I received a reply, so your parents have arrived. Come here now. And bring your earphones, along with the URL of a certain restaurant. I don't know what's going on, but it looks like I have to go out now. Unusual for Michael. I was in the middle of cooking dinner. That's okay, we'll finish up. Let's make it our dinner. Wondering what was going on, I started to get ready to leave. By the way, Maria, we saw that girl's parents at the rest area on the way here. My mom mentioned, as if remembering something. That girl? That girl. Ah, just thinking about it irks me, that.
Ariana?
I don't even want to say her name.
But what could it be about?
I hadn't told my parents that Ariana was living in this area. Given how down I was at that time, my mom's worry was tremendous. And her tirade against Ariana's parents was fierce. Honestly, I never thought my mom could get so angry. Because of that past, I thought mentioning Ariana over the phone would complicate things. I'll be going then. I got into the car and headed to the restaurant Michael had specified. It was a cozy, nice-looking restaurant. According to the restaurant's website in the URL, the dinner seemed moderately priced. I wondered if Michael was waiting here for me. As I got out of the car, noticing a few other vehicles parked as the evening gradually darkened. Another message popped up on my phone. Put on your earphones and come inside. Curious, I entered the restaurant where a waiter guided me to a two-person table. A man sat alone at the next table over. A drink in front of him, elbows on the table, hands covering his mouth. Exuding an unapproachable aura with his sunglasses and all-black attire. I'm waiting for someone. I began to tell the waiter to bring water and suggested the menu. He subtly gestured towards a seat across the room. There was Michael. Seated opposite a woman. With several dishes that seemed like an early dinner laid out on the table. I nodded to the waiter and ordered a light meal that wouldn't seem out of place on the table. At that moment, my phone vibrated inside my bag. It was a message from Michael. Hurriedly, I attached the earphones to my phone and put them in my ears. Then I heard it. No, William is a good doctor. He specializes in plastic surgery.
But you're even more remarkable, isn't that right?
The woman's voice I heard, her back to me, was Ariana's. Startled, I switched my phone to record mode. Michael was intentionally letting me listen.
Since then, I've asked William a bit about you.
Oh, is that so?
I was amazed. After all, you've handled so many difficult surgeries nationally, haven't you? Thousands over 10 years, I heard?
Well, it's my job.
Amazing.
Ariana's tone had completely changed from our last encounter. Still, you've done quite the research.
Actually, I heard it from William. When I mentioned running into you the other day.
Then, the man in black slightly lifted his hips before sitting back down. Glancing over, I noticed he too was wearing earphones. It must have been a surprise, suddenly reuniting with an old friend.
Yes, but meeting you was the highlight.
shouldn't an old friend be more important?
No, I felt bad for speaking so dismissively of you before. I wanted to apologize.
Ariana continued in a tone that sounded almost like she was biting her tongue. I hadn't known. She never spoke like this when she was with me during our student days. So, this was how she acted around men. And thus, my former fiancé too.
But are you satisfied with your marriage to Maria?
I am, but why do you ask?
Isn't it boring with Maria?
Why would you say that?
Because she was ditched by her fiancé before, you know.
Maria is a good wife, more than I deserve.
But she's plain, isn't she?
What are you trying to say?
Actually, since our conversation the other day, I've fallen for your calm demeanor and presence. I think I could be much more for you than Maria.
The man in black's hands trembled visibly on the table. So, this was his play.
Oh, for me?
What do you mean by that?
Because you're invited to parties and such, right? With a plain wife like Maria, wouldn't you be embarrassed? In such places, you need someone more radiant, like me.
So you think you wouldn't embarrass me?
Yes.
So, you're suggesting you'd leave William for me?
No, that sounds terrible when you put it like that.
Then what do you mean? I'm a bit slow on the uptake, you see.
Ah, come on. Do you really make a woman say it? I told you, I fell for you.
William is a promising man. Not an old man like me.
Age doesn't matter. Actually, I'm disappointed in him.
That's when it happened. The man in black started to stand up. I hurriedly approached him. A man dressed all in black, probably this must be William. I silently stared at his face and showed him my earphones and the connected smartphone. William sat down again, as if realizing something. I needed to hear something more definitive. Disappointment. What does that mean? You mean coming home late every day? If that's the case, it's because of work. Unfortunately, patients don't wait.
No, it's not about him coming home late or anything like that.
Then what is it?
It's his salary.
Given his age and career, it's normal. Young professionals are like that.
But he's a doctor, right?
So?
I mean, if your partner is a doctor, you'd expect an income over $200,000, right?
I believe he's making around $140,000 to $150,000 now.
When we got married, it was less, and I was disappointed compared to what I had expected. Moreover, he goes to conferences and stuff, but he never takes me with him. So what if I were in that situation?
So?
It's not about the money. Haven't I told you several times? It was love at first sight.
What do you mean?
I want you to date me.
At that moment, William finally stood up. I tried to stop him, but it was probably too late. He stood behind Ariana, who was sitting across the table. I hurried after him. Then, Michael smiled faintly.
Ariana, is what you just said true?
Behind an oblivious Ariana, William spoke in a low voice. Ariana literally jumped in surprise when she turned around. What? You?
And Maria? What are you two doing? Don't tell me you're cheating? See, when you have something to hide, you end up saying things like that.
Michael said calmly to Ariana.
I heard your conversation. So you've always thought of me like that, huh? What do you mean, like that? Here you are.
I then confronted Ariana with the recording of our conversation.
What's this?
Michael took out 2 smartphones from his bag. One was connected to me, and the other must have been connected to William.
Do you even know what it means to become a fully fledged doctor? What's this all of a sudden? We spend years in college, then years before becoming regular doctors. I had just become a regular doctor when I met you. What?
Ariana started counting on her fingers suddenly.
So, I was just a newbie. But, you said you were a doctor at the mixer. I am a doctor. And at that time, I was dragged there by a high school buddy. I thought it was too early to marry, but you were the one who aggressively pursued me. Plus, I was earning more than my peers in corporate jobs. It was you who assumed I made more.
Indeed. Doctors are well paid, but not until they're fully established. And whether they own a practice, where they work, their employment status, and age can all affect their income. And it's true that doctors have fewer chances to marry.
It was a rare outing because I'm still a busy newbie, which is why I initially declined. Yes, that's true. It might sound like an excuse, but I wanted to work in rural healthcare. I needed to build up my experience in the field to be as versatile as possible. Yet, whenever I mentioned this, you would hysterically scream. But I don't want to go to the countryside. Even though I said it pays better, you didn't want to hear it. And it's not just that. You said you'd be a housewife to support me, but you don't do any housework. What?
I was surprised at that.
But housework isn't just for women nowadays.
That's if both are working. I chimed in.
In today's world, if you decide to be a stay-at-home wife, you really need to manage all household duties perfectly, so your husband doesn't have to worry about anything. Maria! Even you're saying that. But, are you managing all that, along with your social obligations? You seem to be misunderstanding something.
Michael sighed deeply.
You clearly have the wrong image of a doctor's wife.
Indeed. That's more like the image of a housewife from the past.
The glamorous life you imagine doesn't exist. I'm always watching the clock for his uncertain return time, managing childcare, and ensuring he has the stamina to handle surgeries lasting 10+ hours by planning nutritious meals.
Oh, I see.
William, have you been thinking I'm inattentive because I frequently seem to overlook things? Maybe you haven't been getting enough sleep at home?
Yes.
Well, I used to cook and do household chores on my own, but even so, my sleep hours have been significantly reduced because he keeps bothering me whenever he's home, making it hard to find time to study. Study? Of course. It's only natural to constantly acquire new knowledge for our patients. So, Maria, you're studying too? At this age?
Of course.
I'd be in trouble if I couldn't respond to his sudden calls. If it were a marriage between doctors, things like household chores and secretarial tasks would probably be outsourced. But I'm just an ordinary person, so I do what I can to support Michael, for his sake, the hospitals, and the patients. And I want to show our son a model of diligent work. How arrogant! Say what you will. I'm not the person I used to be.
That's right. Watching Ariana directly trying to charm Michael stirred a different kind of anger in me, not the fear I had felt before. Ariana, unable to counter my arguments, remained silent, possibly out of frustration. Then, William interjected firmly.
Ariana, I've decided to leave you. We're getting a divorce. What? What are you talking about? Being with you, I can't become the doctor I aim to be. And let me ask again, are you willing to follow me to rural areas? No, I can't go to such places.
I see.
But I want to go. That's why I can no longer be swayed by you.
Ariana's face froze.
You can't be serious about leaving me.
Suddenly, Ariana turned to me.
It's all because I met you again, Maria. Why did you have to come here? If only we hadn't met. So, you're saying you wouldn't have thought about taking my husband if we hadn't met? You haven't changed at all since college. What? How dare you?
Watching her, I began to feel pity for Ariana rather than fear.
Why have you always taken and then discarded men who were interested in me or my boyfriends? Because I hated you, the plain good girl. But Ariana, hating me doesn't justify the effort you've put in. Like with Jake, you ended up running away from home.
That's right. Ariana's actions were strange. If she hated me, she could have ignored me or bullied me directly. Yet, she took men away from me and discarded them, making it visible to our friends. And she even took my fiancé and demanded alimony.
Ariana, could it be that you actually liked me a lot? What?
She opened her eyes wide in disbelief. Was it my imagination, or did her neck veins bulge visibly when she got angry? It's said that veins bulge when one is angry.
Apart from Jake, I hardly noticed. And the men who switched to you because of Ariana's tricks were not worth much anyway. In the end, it worked out in my favor, didn't it? No, that's not true. Even if I had married Jake, he might have cheated on me. So, Ariana, were you actually saving me from unhappiness? What? Ariana's gaze wandered. Didn't you realize? That can't be. I'm sorry, but I'll forget about you from now on. No, that's a lie. As she said that, Ariana suddenly collapsed in front of us, clutching her chest. Doctor! William looked at Michael with a serious expression. Call an ambulance, quick! Right away! Soon after explaining the situation to the ambulance, Michael and William went with it. Indeed, Michael specializes in cardiac surgery. He probably won't be coming home today. As I sighed deeply, the waiter brought our order. Thank you. Sorry for the commotion. No worries, this place was booked exclusively for you by Michael today. Wow. He had arranged even that. Truly, when he decides to do something, he does it right, I thought with a smile. Later at the hospital, there was another commotion. According to Michael's plan, Ariana's parents were supposed to come storming in. Shockingly, Ariana had only reported her marriage but had not introduced William to her parents. Perhaps the timing had prevented travel out of state. But that time had passed. Michael, through William, had contacted Ariana's parents for two reasons. One was the potential for further issues with men. The other was because he had noticed something off about Ariana's health. He had been suspicious of the way the veins on the right side of her neck bulged since their first meeting. As it turned out, Ariana did have a heart condition. She needed some hospital stay, but her life was not in danger due to the timely intervention. Her parents, having rushed over, decided to take Ariana home. Between the divorce, the sudden discovery of her illness, and being called out by me, Ariana was quite shaken. I don't want to go back home. Ariana resisted her parents, but you need to pay back the alimony we fronted, her father said angrily, and weakened by her condition, Ariana couldn't respond. The divorce led to mediation, where William's misuse of funds was also brought up, further increasing the amount her parents had to cover. Dragged back home, Ariana was now forced to work within their sight to repay them, a tough situation given her free-spirited nature. Caring for her health while being watched by her parents, and chased by serious work every day, for the free-spirited Ariana, that must be an unbearable ordeal. Look, a message from William. It's the weekend. Michael took a half-day off work, so the three of us went to a park with a wide grassy area for the first time in a while. Despite the chilly days continuing, Sean, dressed warmly, was running around on the grass, laughing. Is he all right? As we sat on a bench with a view of Sean, we took turns looking at an email. Check out this photo. The photo showed William smiling and participating in a local festival. A stark contrast to his previously worried expression. That's great. You won't have to be troubled by the past anymore. That's absolutely true. Half of the fear I had was self-generated. And facing Ariana seemed to have lifted some kind of curse. Daddy! Sean waved at us enthusiastically. All right, let's catch him, said Michael as he started running. And I watched the two of them, guarding this moment. Now and in the future too. I had returned to my parents' home in Alaska the day before and was at the airport. Since my brother couldn't pick me up due to a prior engagement, his wife, Mary, was supposed to come get me instead. It was just past 1:30 p.m. The agreed time was supposed to be 1 p.m. It was already over 30 minutes past. As I was wondering what to do, I heard a car horn honking. Turning around, there was Mary. I pulled my suitcase and hurried over to her. Mary, thanks so much for coming all this way. Was traffic bad? Are you okay? I assumed she was late because she got caught in traffic and told her so. However, Mary didn't reply. As I was about to give up on the conversation and get into the car, the door wouldn't open. Huh?
Is it locked? It's on purpose. What do you mean? If you weren't planning to let me in the car, why come here? Was that some kind of hallucination? I doubted my ears. But if that was the case, if you weren't planning to let me in the car, why come here? Just for kicks. Mary laughed with a creepy smile on her face. Then she said, "Why don't you hitchhike home?" You're kidding, right? Well, I'm off. Take care. With that, she left. Realizing she was quite pleased with herself for merely teasing me, I understood that it was all just a jest. Anger bubbled up within me, and I felt an irritation I had never known before. Well, I might as well hitchhike home, just like Mary said. My name is Hannah. I'm currently 30 years old and work in a home cleaning service. The story of how my husband, John, and I met goes back 10 years, to our college days when we worked at the same part-time job. I was born in Alaska and moved to Chicago for college. To earn money for living on my own, I didn't join any clubs and spent my days going straight from class to work. Back then, I worked at a bar, and many of the staff were around my age, and we really got along well. That's why I was able to enjoy my college life. Among them, I got along particularly well with John. Though we went to different colleges, we were the same age and he was easy to talk to. We often had shifts together, so I spent more time with him than with other members of the staff.
Hey, Hannah. The boss is off today. Lucky, huh? No way. That's awesome. Let's secretly eat the leftover desserts. Sounds good. It's a deal.
We would sneak off like this, just the two of us, or chat about love interests, who liked whom at work, and other lighthearted topics. Back then, I thought of him as just a good guy friend, and I didn't have any romantic feelings for him, but it seems John felt differently. As we were both about to graduate and had secured full-time jobs starting in the spring, we decided to quit our part-time jobs at the same time. After a farewell party thrown by our close friends, and everyone else had left, about 10 minutes later, John asked me to meet him alone at a nearby park. There was no reason to refuse, so I headed to the park right away. "Hey, over here," John called out, waving his hand. "What's up? Are you drunk?" I laughed, seeing John's flushed face looking serious. Usually, John would just say shut up and laugh it off, but not that day. He looked seriously unsettled and didn't change his expression. Feeling the unusual atmosphere, I couldn't help but ask, "What? What is it?" "Well, it's just that." "Come on, spit it out." "I don't want to be apart." "Huh? From who?" "From you. We won't see each other after we quit the job, right?" "I hate that idea." I was momentarily at a loss for words, not fully grasping the meaning behind John's words.
What? Really?
Stop with that unbelievable reaction. It hurts, you know.
No. Sorry. It's just too unexpected, and my brain hasn't caught up yet.
I don't see you just as a friend. I've always liked you romantically. So, if it's okay with you, would you want to go out with me? Seeing John speaking with a seriousness I had never seen before, I realized his feelings for me were genuine. Since I had always seen him as a friend, I told him I needed some time to think, and we parted ways that day. 2 weeks passed with John's confession hanging in the balance, and the time came for the welcome party for new employees. My mind wasn't there, I kept thinking about John. When we were working part-time, we used to see each other 2 or 3 times a week. But since quitting the job, it had been 2 weeks without seeing him. I felt strangely lonely. I couldn't help but think, am I that simple, as I realized I missed John and liked him not just as a friend. And so, our relationship progressed, and after dating for 7 years, we decided to get married when we were 27. It was time to meet each other's parents. As for meeting my parents, I decided against formally announcing it. My parents had divorced when I was young, because of my father's affair. So, it was just my mom and me, as I had no siblings. I had always been the only family for my mom. The reason I chose my current job was because I thought it suited me. My mom was always busy with work, coming home late every day. So, I naturally took on cooking, laundry, and cleaning by myself. But I never found it burdensome. In fact, I enjoyed those moments so much that I decided to pursue this career. I called my mom to tell her about the wedding. "Hello, Mom? There's something I want to talk about." "Oh, Hannah. How have you been? What is it?" "Yes, I'm fine. Actually, I want to marry John. So, we're planning to come over and formally greet you."
Oh, congratulations. You're finally getting married. I'm really happy for you. If it's with John, I can rest assured you should marry him.
Mom. But, I know what John looks like, and there's no need for you all to come formally. It's a long way here, and it's just me, so I'll visit you guys at your place instead. My family home is in Alaska. Traveling from where we live in Chicago to Alaska takes about 6 hours by plane alone. My mom knew about my long-term relationship with John and had met him a few times, so she said it wasn't necessary for us to come for a greeting. However, when I mentioned this to John, he said, "No, it doesn't matter what your mom says, we should go and properly meet her," and so we ended up going to my rural family home to greet my mom together. I told you it was too far for you to bother coming. Distance doesn't matter. I wanted to see your mom in person and talk to her. I promise I'll always make Hannah happy." Hearing this, my mom, with tears in her eyes, happily said, "Please take good care of my precious daughter." With my family's greeting done, the next week we headed to John's home. Having been in a long relationship, we had many chances to visit John's family home before we decided to get married, and I had met his parents several times. John's dad is the president of a major company, and they have a pretty big house. His mom is the wife of a president, a very classy lady. What you'd call wealthy. I remember being shocked by the size of their house the first time I visited. At first, I was scared they might be like the strict and frightening parents you see in dramas. Would they disapprove of me being from a single-parent household or my job? But surprisingly, both of them were really down-to-earth and easy to talk to. They didn't care at all that my mom was a single mother and really took a liking to me. So, I wasn't too nervous about this marriage greeting.
Long time no see. Sorry for intruding. Oh, Hannah. It's been a while. You look well. Hannah. Welcome. We've been waiting for this day. Old man here was getting impatient.
John's parents were as kind as ever, and I felt relieved. They were genuinely happy about our marriage, and we had a great time that day. We thought our families had accepted us, and we were free from any family troubles, or so I thought, but there was one person I found a bit difficult to deal with, almost like a nemesis. That person was John's brother's wife. She named Mary. Nathan's wife, Mary, and he had gotten married 2 years before us, triggered by the news that they were expecting a child. When they got married, I was still single and just dating John, but we had been together for a long time. When I heard Natalie was going to have a baby, we decided to visit John's family to celebrate.
Congrats, Nathan. Nathan. Congratulations. Hannah. Brother. Thanks to both of you.
Nathan responded with a smile, and sitting next to him was a woman holding a cute baby. Immediately identifiable as Nathan's wife. I hurriedly introduced myself. "Nice to meet you, I'm Hannah."
"Nice to meet you too. I'm Mary. Nathan has told me a lot about you. We're close in age, so let's get along."
Mary smiled warmly, giving off a very calm and kind vibe, which was my first impression of her. The conversation turned to ordering pizza, and we chatted and ate together. Talking with Mary, I found out she was a year younger than me. She worked as a nurse and was currently on maternity leave. As we continued to chat, our husbands said they were going to step out for a smoke, leaving us to continue our girl talk. What was Nathan's proposal like?
We got married because I was pregnant, So there was no romantic proposal. It happened casually in the car. Like, we're having a baby, so should we get married? I'm still holding a grudge about it. What? But marriage proposals are every girl's dream. We'll have to lecture Nathan later.
Our girl talk naturally transitioned to discussions about careers. Why did you decide to become a nurse, Mary?
My mom was a nurse, and ever since I was a child, I wanted to be like her. So, I studied really hard. Wow, that's amazing. And cool. But night shifts must be hard, right?
Not at all, it's challenging but fulfilling. By the way, what do you do, Hannah? Me? I work in a home cleaning service. Huh? What's that? I felt Mary's brows furrow for a moment. It's indeed a job not everyone is familiar with. So, maybe she didn't get it? I explained again. I go to clients' houses to do things like cleaning, laundry, and sometimes even cooking meals, taking care of children, or keeping dogs company. It really varies depending on the client. What kind of job is that? Just sounds like being a helper. Mary muttered under her breath. Huh? What did she just say? Did I hear that wrong? What? Oh, nothing. I could never do a job that seems so uninteresting to me. I actually enjoy housework, so it's not a chore for me at all, and it's surprisingly fun. Housework is something anyone can do. I personally would hate being bossed around by strangers. It sounded a bit sarcastic, but oh well. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, after all. I tried not to take Mary's comments too personally. But after that, every time I met Mary, she would criticize my job. Are you still sticking with that pointless job? Pointless? I actually find it quite fulfilling. Oh, sorry. Just slipped out, she would say, in a tone that seemed to belittle my work. This didn't change even after John and I got married.
Hannah, I heard you got married to John? Congratulations. It's amazing how John's parents approved of someone in such a low-end job as yours.
Low-end job. I couldn't believe my ears at her harsh words. Well, isn't it? Just odd jobs? A helper? Something like that? Did you sweet-talk your father-in-law or something? That's a terrible thing to say. I didn't sweet-talk anyone. They accepted me willingly. Wow, the eldest son's wife of such a wealthy and prestigious family working as just a helper? That's quite the embarrassment. Mary's insults about my job became more intense, taking advantage of my silence. What made it worse was that she would never say such things in front of Natalie or John. She only said them when it was just the two of us. And then she would always add, "Please don't mention any of this to John or Nathan, okay?" If she didn't want them to hear, she shouldn't bother me in the first place. It seemed like Mary enjoyed insulting me and watching my reaction. As per her request, I didn't tell Natalie or John about the insults. So neither of them knew her true nature, with my husband saying, "Mary is really ladylike, isn't she?" I could have told John about her, but nobody likes to hear negative things about their sibling's spouse. It felt wrong to stir things up, so I never brought it up. And since I wasn't being openly harassed at the moment, I thought, oh well. I initially thought we could get along well since we were close in age, but it was clear that wasn't going to happen. But then, one day, something happened that made oh well not an option anymore. That day, I was at the airport. I had gone back to my family home the day before and stayed overnight. Usually, John would pick me up from the airport, but today he was out with his brother Natalie, so he couldn't come to get me. Even though I won't be there, it looks like Nathan's wife is going to pick you up. Mary? She's not resenting it, is she? What? Why would you think that? She doesn't seem to mind at all. You always seem to get along. Nathan said he'd asked her to do it. Just take it easy for today. I was astounded by my husband's obliviousness, but what could I do? Okay, thank you. Then I'll be waiting. I was sure Mary disliked me. So, I never imagined she'd actually come to pick me up. I was skeptical but decided to wait and see. Maybe Mary had changed her feelings? Hoping for that, I waited for the agreed time. However, even after the appointed time, there was no sign of Mary. It was already past 1:30 p.m. More than 30 minutes had gone by since our agreed time. Maybe it was foolish of me to think Mary would come for me after all. Feeling down about it, I was about to leave the meeting spot when I heard a car horn honking. Huh? Turning around, there was Mary. I pulled my suitcase and ran towards her with a smile.
Mary, thank you so much for coming all this way. Was the traffic bad? Are you okay?
I tried to be friendly, but Mary looked displeased. Sorry, was it too far for you? No matter what I said, Mary kept her silence. Rather, it seemed like she was ignoring me. As I got no response to anything I said, I reluctantly gave up on trying to make conversation and tried to get into the car, but the door wouldn't open. Huh? Is it locked? I looked at Mary remaining silent. Then she finally turned to me and spoke for the first time. It's on purpose, she said. What do you mean? Did you really think I came to pick you up? As if I'd let someone with such a low-end job in this car?
What? What does that mean?
Exactly as I said. People like you are not welcome in my car. Mary said with a chuckle, which only made me more irritated. Why come here if you had no intention of letting me in the car? Huh? Isn't it obvious? Just for a laugh. I wanted to see that angry face of yours. Mary started laughing with a creepy expression. While I stood there dumbfounded, she spat out, "Why don't you just hitchhike back?"
Hitchhike? Are you serious?
Yep, I'm off then, she said and walked away. To come all this way just to mock me. My anger towards Mary's actions began to boil over. But I couldn't dwell on it. John was waiting for me at home, after all. Hitchhiking didn't seem realistic. So I decided to take a bus or train home. I had just texted John, saying, "I'm still at the airport waiting for Mary, so I'll be home in about an hour," right before this happened. To avoid worrying him, I called, "Sorry, I'll take the train and bus back, so my return will be delayed by about an hour." What? Why are you taking the bus and train? Mary was supposed to head there, right? Well, she did come to the airport, but then she left me behind.
What? Why? What happened? How are you getting back?
I don't know. She told me to hitchhike back. What the hell? I'll tell Nathan to ask her to come back immediately. You could tell from the phone call that John was confused and agitated. That makes sense. He had complete trust in Mary, after all. It was when I was contemplating whether to take John's advice and have Mary come back. I spotted someone familiar. Ah, I just saw someone I know. I'll ask if they can give me a ride. I'll figure something out, so wait for me. A friend? Are you sure you'll be okay? Be careful. We'll be home soon too, so don't push yourself, okay? I'm sure it'll be okay. Thank you. With that, John and I ended the call. I decided to chase after the person I spotted to talk to them. Then, I noticed my phone ringing. Is it John? Thinking that, I checked the screen only to see Mary's name displayed. After leaving me stranded at the airport, what could she possibly want now? I was so upset with Mary that I decided to ignore the call. However, she kept calling back relentlessly. Something felt off. Could she have gotten into an accident? If something happened to Mary because I kept ignoring her? Worried by my negative thoughts, I finally decided to answer the call. Hello?
Hey! What did you say to Nathan?
Mary's voice was so loud that it hurt my ears, forcing me to pull the phone away. It seemed Mary hadn't been in an accident after all.
Huh? What are you talking about?
After calling me repeatedly, Mary suddenly started yelling, making me even angrier. This time, I couldn't help but respond more forcefully than usual.
Nathan scolded me, asking what I did to you. Why do I have to be yelled at?
Oh, that's what this is about. I didn't talk to Nathan directly. I just told John I'd be late, and when he asked why, I mentioned you left me behind.
We had a deal not to tell John or Nathan, right? It was supposed to be just your problem, but now it's the worst.
Mary started screaming again, blaming me. It's your fault. What are you going to do about this? How dare you, with your low-end job? Wait a minute. I never made such a promise, and what's wrong with telling the truth? Her outrage was unjustified.
What? If you just wanted to complain, I'm hanging up. Wait. If I don't pick you up, Nathan will scold me. Just wait there.
Mary, still furious, said she would come back and then hung up abruptly. Well. There was something important I wanted to say. But it's okay. Thinking this could actually be a chance to turn the tables on Mary, I decided not to call her back and instead waited with the acquaintance I had just met for Mary to arrive. 20 minutes after ending the call with Mary, she showed up at the previously agreed meeting spot. Get in, she said in a brusque manner, gesturing to the car with her chin, urging me to get inside. No thanks. I'll pass. What? What are you talking about? I came all the way here to pick you up. But you were the one who said you wouldn't give me a ride in the first place, right?
Why are you being so spiteful? Just get in already. Nathan is going to scold me.
No, I've managed to hitchhike. So, I don't need a ride. Hitchhike. Look, these two have offered to take me home, I said, and the people I had spoken to earlier stepped out from behind the car. Mary was shocked when she saw them. Oh, mother-in-law? Father-in-law? Yes. Those people were none other than John's parents. In other words, they were Mary's in-laws. 20 minutes earlier, while I was on the phone with John, I noticed two familiar figures. They were holding hands, carrying lots of souvenirs, and looked very happy together. It turned out they were John's parents.
Mother-in-law. Father-in-law. Oh, Hannah. What a surprise. What a coincidence. Why are you at the airport? I was visiting my family home in Alaska. Are you two traveling? Yes. My wife wanted to go on a hot spring trip, so we took a little vacation together,
they said, smiling at each other and sharing their travel stories. It was clear they had a wonderful trip. Seeing their cheerful faces made me forget all about my irritation with Mary, and I felt warmed by their happiness. Was John supposed to pick you up at the airport? No, John is out with Nathan. Those two are really close, aren't they? Oh? So how are you planning to get back home? I was actually supposed to be picked up by Mary, but, well. As I hesitated, my mother-in-law expressed concern. What happened? Did something happen? Can you tell me? So, I decided to share what Mary had done to me. How Mary had left me stranded. How she had been insulting me all this time. My in-laws listened intently, nodding seriously. Where is Mary now? She said she was coming back here over the phone. Is that so? Well, this might be a good chance to give her a little surprise, my father-in-law said with a mischievous grin like a boy planning a prank. This was 20 minutes ago. At my father-in-law's suggestion, we decided to wait together for Mary's arrival. Mary was stunned to find my in-laws there, not expecting them to be present. Oh Mary, what a coincidence. Why are you here? Hannah was about to hitchhike because you told her to. We decided to give her a ride. You did tell her to hitchhike back, right? My mother-in-law said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It was. Mary was at a loss for words, mumbling incoherently. Then, she glaring at me. She was caught off guard by my father-in-law's next words. Mary, do you have something to say to Hannah? Please, say it in front of us. Bracing herself, Mary sighed heavily and began.
This woman is a low-end worker, you know? How can I say that the eldest son's wife of Nathan's wealthy and dignified family is just a helper? So, I thought I'd say it for you, kind mother and father-in-law. She's a disgrace to this family.
Mary spat out her words venomously. A stark contrast to the usually demure and gentle Mary. My in-laws seemed a bit shocked.
If you call Hannah's job low-end, what does that make me, a homemaker? That's different. Mother-in-law has class, and being a homemaker doesn't matter. It's absurd to think it's okay for me, but not for Hannah. Hannah has her own dignity too. But, regardless, Hannah doesn't fit in this family. She shouldn't be accepted. It's not for you to decide. It's wrong to judge someone solely by their occupation. From my perspective, both Mary and Hannah are suitable for this family.
My father-in-law said, placing a reassuring hand on Mary's shoulder.
That's right. We love both of you. So, Mary, please be nice to Hannah. For Nathan and John's sake, and for ours, okay?
Tears started to stream down Mary's face. I'm so sorry. I truly am. She apologized through sobs. It's okay. I'm sorry too. I responded, and somehow, we managed to reconcile. Both Mary and I felt anew the warmth of my in-laws. Afterward, Mary decided to drive back in her car, and I went with my in-laws. Though I could have gone with Mary.
Let's have a long chat today. Can you tell me about your trip to Alaska? Thank you so much. Because of you, mother and father, it seems I can now talk normally with Mary. What are you talking about? We're a family, aren't we?
With that, we all went back to the family home where Nathan and John were waiting. Upon arrival, Nathan immediately approached Mary, who was being lectured in a rather upset mood, but it was clear she was quietly accepting the scolding. After seeing Mary's demeanor, Nathan seemed convinced she was genuinely remorseful but warned, "You know what will happen if you do something like this again, right?" Everyone probably thought of divorce at that moment.
Hannah, were you okay? I'm sorry. I had no idea about what was happening between you and Mary.
John expressed his regret and concern. It's fine. Besides, I'm okay.
Really? You're not just saying that? Yes. Thanks to your parents, I'm safe, and it looks like Mary and I have made up.
What? Dad and Mom did? What happened exactly? John looked utterly confused. It made me laugh. Why are you laughing?
I was just thinking how happy I am. Thank you for marrying me. What, suddenly, thanks, I guess.
John scratched his head in embarrassment. 3 years later. We were both 33. As I was cooking, my husband rushed over to me.
Hannah! Please, just sit down. Don't move around too much. Your belly is getting big, you know. Oh, you're being overprotective. I'm fine doing this much. No way. If something happened to you or the baby. I'm just worried, so please sit down. Come on, to the sofa.
Guided by my husband, I sat down on the sofa. Yes. Actually, John and I are expecting a baby. I'm in my final month and the baby is due soon. The doctor told us it's a girl.
Hannah, if anything comes up, make sure to ask me, okay? I'm somewhat of a parenting veteran.
Mary said confidently, hands on her hips.
Mary. Thank you. I'll definitely ask for advice. Once the baby is born and grows a bit, let's go on a trip together with Nathan, John, you, me, and the kids.
Maybe we should invite mother and father-in-law too?
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to it.
We smiled at each other as we talked about the future. Mary no longer ridiculed my profession. It seems the words of my in-laws resonated with her in her own way. Once like cats and dogs, thanks to my in-laws, we've truly become good friends, now able to discuss anything.
Surrounded by kind in-laws, a loving husband, and a caring brother-in-law and his wife, I am truly happy now.